Today we are talking about ways to tweak your running form, so stay tuned. Hey there, Wrinkled Runner here. I've been running for quite a few years now, and I never really thought about making improvements in my running form until about a year ago. I had heard all the debates about whether it is worth it to change how you naturally run. Some coaches saying that you should do this or that to adjust for a better form, and some saying you are opening yourself up to injury if you try to change. I kept hearing about running form and what was proper and decided to test out some of the ways that we can improve. What I found was that I did get faster and stronger by tweaking my form a bit and by keeping mindful of how I carried myself on my runs. Now mind you, everything I did was little by little, practicing something for a little bit on every run. I didn't change everything all at once, and in fact, some things I didn't change at all. But I do buy into the notion now that if you run more efficiently, you are going to get better and faster, since it worked for me. If you find that you're successful in your running now, you're hitting your paces and you're getting faster, and you're not overly fatigued during or after a run, and you're not getting injured, then don't mess up a good thing. While some improvements can probably be made, don't focus too much on trying to make huge alterations. Those of you, though, who may be finding that you're sore or injury prone, testing out a few changes to your form may help you. In learning to run more efficiently, you will expend less energy and feel a bit less fatigued during or after a run. The first thing we're going to talk about is breathing. In coaching my husband, I have to tell him to relax all the time. He sometimes has a hard time getting enough oxygen. In fact, he uses an inhaler, which then causes his form to suffer, and he ends up running really tense. And how you breathe is obviously a very personal thing, but there are different patterns that are recommended for runners to try. But if you have to think about breathing too much, then other things can break down. The best advice I can give is to relax. Breathe all the way in and relax your muscles as you breathe out. Now, if you want to try some breathing patterns, you can do a 2-2, which is in through the mouth for 2 steps, and then breathe out for 2 as you're running. Each step would be a breath. There's also a 3-2 pattern, breathing in for 3, out for 2, or a 2-3 pattern, breathing in for 2 and out for 3. Now, if you practice that and it feels good and you like that, it'll eventually become second nature to you, because at first it can feel awkward. So what about cadence? Now, cadence is how many times your feet hit the ground in a minute. A common number used for cadence that you're going to hear is 180. The claim is that elite runners are usually in that neighborhood or higher, and if you want to get faster, you're going to need to try and hit that number. If you don't have a running watch, which will usually tell you what your cadence is, you can figure out your cadence on your own. So during your next run, you're going to count how many times your right foot hits the ground in a minute. So double that, and that's going to be your cadence. So there's a lot of discussion among coaches and other experts that cadence doesn't matter, and some that say it does. I know for myself, my running improved and I got faster by increasing my cadence. So that's not to say I did it all in one day or week or month. It was over time. I practiced turning my foot over faster, and I concentrated more on keeping my feet under me. According to the runnersconnect.net website, runners whose cadence is less than 160 are probably overstriding, which means the front foot is landing ahead of them, which forces the body to kind of put on the brakes before being able to get moving again. So doing that over and over again can lead to injuries. So if you find that your cadence is less than that, you may be an overstrider. So what if you want to see if you can up your cadence? There are a few things that you can do to train your feet to move and turn over faster. First off, try some strides at the end of a run. So what you're going to do is speed up for about 20 seconds at the end of a run. Go fast, keeping the front leg slightly bent and under your center of gravity. Don't lock out your leg in front of you as you run. You're going to swing your arms quicker, and you're going to keep your elbows closer to your body. Practice having your hands brush the top of whatever you're wearing on your lower body. During a regular training run, concentrate on your feet and try to make them turn over faster while counting. Now, if your cadence, say, is at 150, you're not trying to get to 180. Go for just a few more steps, like between 155 to 158 per minute. Up the steps when you reach a cadence of 158 and go from there. All those form tweaks become a lot more natural as you practice them, because at first, like I said before, it seems taxing and not worth the effort. You will then get to the point where you notice if you're not doing this new skill, and you can correct pretty easily. Then you end up not having to think about it too much, so it does take time. The next part of form is posture. Now, since we all do a lot of sitting, we tend to be hunched. And I know myself from years of hunching that trying to execute good posture actually hurts. And I try to run with better posture than what I exhibit in normal life. I find that I feel more energized when I'm trying to run tall. And I've heard it described as thinking of a thread on the top of your head that is linking up to the sky. Now, you should be leaning into the run from the hips a bit. You're going to hinge, not stick straight. Be sure that you're hinged at the hips, but don't be hunched from the shoulders. One thing that I can't do is look forward when I run, which is probably to my detriment because it's something you're supposed to do. But I've been looking at the ground when I walk or run for almost 54 years now. And when I try to look ahead or around me, I trip. I have fallen over twigs, I've slipped on the only patch of ice for miles, and I can find the hole in any sidewalk. So this does mean that I have run and I've walked into poles occasionally, but I'll take that over breaking a leg or arm because when I fall hard. So my husband, though, is really good at looking forward, and when he always is looking around when he walks or runs, and he can see ahead of him and he can see everything that's going on a run, which is the recommended way. You should be looking up. So don't do as I do and look up ahead of you as you run. It's going to help you stay more upright, and not to mention you're going to see things that are coming your way like a pole. Now, one thing that Dave's not so good at that I am is keeping my hands loose. In my RRCA coaches training, they likened it to holding a potato chip or a bag of chips in your hand that you're not trying to crush. I'm able to keep my hands really loose, but my husband, he clenches his fists for dear life, and I'm always telling him to relax his hands. If your hands are relaxed, you're less likely to be running with tensed shoulders, jaws, and neck, because as you're running, you're just so clenched. And again, hinge at the waist a bit. Now, you're not going to run bent over. You want your head upright, remember, but just give a little forward lean to the body. Remember, anything that you try is going to take practice and feel awkward. In the beginning, most of us recreational runners are running naturally, and we're just tweaking or correcting some form issues as we notice deficiencies. So to start out, just notice if you're running with your front foot landing in front of you, and work on getting that foot closer to underneath you with your knee bent, not locked out. That's going to go a long way to helping prevent injuries. Now, if you have any specific questions about your running form, you can email me at sherry@wrinkledrunner.com, and I'm going to see what I can do to help you. I'm a running coach based in Buffalo, New York, and besides this channel, I host a podcast and write posts for wrinkledrunner.com. You can access those below, as well as any other resources or websites that I used for this video. Next week, I'm going to be sharing what I learned when looking into legs tingling after a run, because I had that problem for a while. So if you've ever had that issue, you can join me next Wednesday morning. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. You can find a link in the description and sign up for the monthly rundown from the Wrinkled Runner. This once-a-month newsletter gives you all the content that I shared from the previous month, and also lets you know of any other running resources that I've found. Until next week then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the run.